Okay. Hi, it's good to meet you. So today's topic is changing harmful habits with strategy. Could equally be called cultivating beneficial habits with a strategy. It's kind of almost the same thing. And it's about something that is very close to my heart at the moment because it's given me huge benefit. After many, many years of dabbling around in my own practice, trying to kind of develop skills on the path, but having absolutely no idea how to do that properly. Just kind of trying around, reading a book here, listening to a teacher there, contacting my teacher with this topic a little bit. He would give me advice. And I would kind of say, oh yeah, I get that, I understand. Then go back home and kind of forget half of it, not really integrating it in my practice, and if so, really half-heartedly. So that doesn't give any results. So it's many, many people, even though there's teachings in abundance online, good teachings, powerful teachings, transformative teachings in many ways, people don't really attain the proper results of deeper meditation practice because their practice is rather kind of like a dabble-y sort of practice. It's not goal-oriented. Yeah. So that is very popular nowadays also to kind of introduce this spirituality where that is very pleasing to the ego, where I don't have to do anything. You just sit there and you do nothing. I'm just being aware and mindful. When this is not really awareness, but rather kind of a form of subtle laziness for most people. We don't want to confront the issues that need to be confronted, for example. So it leads to spiritual bypassing very often. We don't really see ourselves properly. We see ourselves from deluded states rather than from actual pure awareness as such. We see ourselves through expectations, through the lens of trying to achieve something and so forth. So all that is a hindrance for many people. When we practice, you want to practice well, and as a step-by-step approach, actually building mental skills that serve as a foundation for really deep awareness and introspection and or self-awareness, you want to say, to actually arise properly. Yes. If it was that easy that you just only need to sit around and know yourself, then we'd all be enlightened instantly. And in fact, there's quite a few people who nowadays think that they're very enlightened and they show it to the world and say, I'm an enlightened master and all this kind of thing, when this is very, very likely some sort of boosted ego that feels very enlightened, yet there is no true awareness there. So in order to cultivate properly, we need to start with small steps and a very solid sense of why am I doing this, first of all. Not so much what am I doing here. Let me get this profound technique. Let me read this book about how to do meditation. First, ask yourself, why? Why sit somewhere cross-legged, close your eyes or keep them half opened, with an upright spine? Why breathe deeply? Why focus on something? Why direct your attention in specific ways? What's the point? So it's a very good question to ask ourselves, like in general, even throughout the whole day. What am I doing right now? What is it I'm doing right now? Mentally, emotionally, physically. What am I creating right now? Well, what's my direction right now? And since all of us kind of share this common goal, we all want to be happy. Nobody really wants to suffer. It's a pretty solid motivation for meditation practice. Actually trying to find true happiness within. Let go of stress and suffering. If that becomes very, very clear to ourselves, our practice is a bit more of a clear direction already, but that's not enough. If you sit down and you say, okay, I kind of want to let go of my stress and suffering and I want to be happy, then still it's very kind of a wobbly goal. It's not very directed. So what does it take, right, to get you there? So you need to have a clear idea of what the causes are to get you to your goal. If you want to be more happy, what does it take to be more happy? You need to be very clear about this. Particularly, what does it take for me to create a bit of a more happiness in this session right now? Forget in the next year or the next month or the next week even. What can you do now in this particular session to allow a bit of more happiness to shine through, or to let go of stress? And then you want to ask yourself, what would tell you that you actually have achieved your goal? How would you know by the end of the session? In other words, how could you measure that you're actually happier than before? How could you measure that you have let go of suffering? What would tell you that? In day-to-day life, what would tell you that you suffer a bit less? And this is really studying. You need to study yourself in all detail. Actually getting to understand the mechanics of the way the mind works. Like, let's say, if I'm receiving myself with kindness, or let's say on a superficial level, just a bit of superficial friendliness, I'm just a bit more friendly to myself, like by talking to myself in a bit of a friendlier way. Like, instead of going, focus, damn it, I say, relax here. Or, okay, you're stressed, I understand that, and it's fine, you take your time. You say to your mind, for example, as you practice, let's see, what does that do? Does it help you to relax a bit more? Good. Then you have something that you can write down. Here's what I've observed in this meditation practice. As soon as I changed the way that I talked with myself, I could relax deeper. It was more pleasant. And then you try that again in your next session. And try to take it a bit deeper. That's a good direction, right? It already points to something there. If I'm kind of giving myself space here, I can relax a bit deeper. Well, let me try to expand on that. So now your next session has quite a solid why. You sit down and you think, okay, I want to be happy, I want to be relaxed. What do I need to do in this session to help me achieve that? Well, let me try to go a bit deeper into this giving myself more space thing. See, I'm talking very basic stuff because that's where people fail. The most basic stuff. You know, everybody, mostly in spiritual circles, it's very easy to talk the profound talk. You've read the book, it's touched you somehow, and then you talk about awareness and consciousness and deep sleep and all that kind of stuff. But let's face it, most people fail at the very basic stuff. Setting up a regular practice, going a bit deeper, establishing attention, very like kind of kindergarten steps. As for myself, I've noticed that I spent years talking deep stuff. And at some point, it took me a few years, it became really frustrating, and it is at the moment really frustrating for me. It's like, man, I'm just talking deep stuff, and I'm listening to other people talking about deep stuff, other teachers talking about deep stuff. But if I'm really, really honest, I still suffer. And I'm still disorganized. And my wife can still drive me up the walls with little things. And I still cannot maintain my awareness while I go to sleep and enter the dream state properly. Doesn't really work yet. So if I talk about real awareness, then here's a simple check for you. Are you really established in awareness? Yes or no? Well, can you go to sleep consciously? Can you maintain the awareness through the dream stage, through into deep sleep, back out into dream stage, back out into waking stage? Are you able to do that? That's a simple self-check. And that is as far as spiritual conceit very often goes. Oh, let's talk about awareness. That's a very profound topic. And any master that I've personally met so far was very strict on that point. Before you talk about deep stuff, do the small steps. And then I noticed, wow, that's what I'm not doing actually. That's where I still stumble and fall day after day. And so I took it to heart for this year particularly, also to really take care of the small steps and do them really well. Like for example, stage 1 of the meditation practice, to make it a point to do that really well. Breathing in, feeling my legs, breathing out, letting go of tension in my legs. But to do that really, really well, as good as I can. Like an artist that sculpts his masterpiece. With careful attention. And I've observed something. When you do that, you naturally train awareness. You naturally train the knowing to remain. Because the mind is less scattered, it's less shaky, it's less busy. So when a thought invades, you can see much more clearly, thoughts, it's just thoughts, and then they go away. Much more easy. That is a simple result that comes just by paying more attention to the basics. And this is probably something that my teacher has told me many, many times, and I would go, yeah, that's very profound. He said, it's the basics. It's always just the basics. Do them well. Do the basics well, and they will get deeper and deeper. So I came up with these 21-day challenges. After I've seen a friend doing one of these 21-day gratitude challenges, he would write down 3 things to be grateful for every evening for 21 days. It's based on a Harvard study that if you do something consistently for 21 days, it changes the neural networks in your brain, it changes your physiology in certain ways, and you kind of you're at the beginning of establishing a new type of habit. Okay, so that's why 21 days, 3 weeks. So the way I do it is, first of all, I ask myself, what do I want? But less than what do I want, actually, what do I need? Because what I want is not always what I really need, actually, to progress in my practice. Let's say what I want would be to just sit and let thoughts come and go and see them as just thoughts. Easy. But what I would need is, for example, to work more on generosity or kindness towards myself. But it's hard to see what we really need. Therefore, it's very good to have a teacher that gives you feedback. Because very often the teacher is the one that gets you out of your comfort zone, that makes you question yourself, in ways that you yourself would never do, because we ourselves, if we are alone and we practice on our own, we do what's most comfortable. That's known as staying in the comfort zone. So we don't really develop skills, but we very much feel like we do. So watch out for that. If you do practice on your own a lot, if you don't have a personal kind of guide that kind of shakes you up a little now and then and gives you a bit of direction that's important and helpful for you, then you need to do that for yourself. So you need to kind of have ways on checking with yourself, how am I doing? What do I really need? And the way that I find out what I really need is by seeing what challenges me. What is it that drives me up the wall? For example, my last 21-day challenge was based on an external obstacle because I really dislike noise. As some of you might already figured out, I don't like noise very much. So I took it to heart and made it a 21-day challenge. And every day I had certain rules, certain things to confront myself with stuff that I really did not like. And yes, it really works. After 21 days of documenting progress and seeing what works and learning and studying, educating myself, it's gotten so much better. And that is really uplifting because you actually see how you progress. And progress is a fundamental facet of being fulfilled as a human being. If you feel that you grow, that you're developing something, you feel good about yourself. Yes. It gives you self-respect. You're basically busy inspiring yourself. Here's something that really challenged me for a long time. Now I have mastered it. Or I've at least really progressed a lot. So that now each time I hear noise, I relax. Whereas before when I hear noise, I was going "Arr!" every single time. Now I just go, ah. It's like a different habit. And it actually works. And I find this super motivating. It's small. See, I'm not talking about grand stuff. There's enough talk about it. Small stuff. And there is the happiness that I was looking for so long on my spiritual path. There is a lot of it in the simple success of getting something done well. And how did I do it? By really paying attention to details. By really making it important. Important enough so that I would spend every day writing, documenting, studying, reading materials about it, educating myself, confronting myself with what I disliked, growing through it. And it was lots of fun. Yes. So the first thing, as I said, to find out is what do you want to work on, or what do you need to work on? What is it that challenges you? Once you found that out, give it a headline. Give your challenge a nice little headline. Okay? The second thing, what do you think? What would be important to figure out next? You know the what. You know that this is what I want.
How?
Almost the how, yes. What before the how?
Why?
Why? Your purpose. Because the why is what pulls you. The why is what fuels your practice. It gives you energy. Oh, my purpose is, for example, why do I want to do this? Well, I've observed that it's really unpleasant each time to get super annoyed when there's a noise. And at some point it was just so unpleasant that I constantly decided to, okay, I have to work on this. I have to do something about this. Relax, relax, relax. But very unstructured. So it didn't really go away. The problem did not really go away. I felt for a little while, I felt like, okay, I can just dissolve it into emptiness or just do this or that, you know. But it didn't really go away. So I really have to take it to heart, and it developed this very strong pull. Why do I really want to do this? Why do I want to work with noise? Well, one thing that really motivated me was because then I can help people who are struggling with noise, for example. Then I can help those who are stuck with that particular problem. Because I gather experience throughout these 21 focused days. Enough experience that helps me to help myself. And by that, I'm in the position to be able to help other people who are struggling just the same as I do. Because I know just how uncomfortable it is to constantly being annoyed by noises. So that was one thing, the why, right? Another why would be just freedom, to be free. It felt very much like I'm enslaved. Each time there is a noise, I have to jump internally. And I have to be unhappy. It's like slavery. I'm a slave of the noise. The noise goes up, my mind goes down. That's not nice. It doesn't feel very powerful. It feels like the whole external world can just rule me. It feels like a cow that's led by a nose ring. The noise is leading me around by the nose ring. I don't like that very much. So here's another why. I'd like to be free from that. So I'd like to be... How would that look like? The next question. How would it look like being free from that particular trouble? Well, for example, if the noise would go off, I would just relax instead. That would be a good progress. That would show me, yes, if that particular noise starts, and it's only particular noises. Some noises I don't care, others I care very much. And if it's that particular noise, well, if I hear that and I can relax instead, amazing. I want this. That would be great. So the purpose and what you want, they come together. Then the next question would be all about the how, right? So how am I going to do that? And so in order to establish the how, you need to know what would cause you to feel relaxed upon hearing that annoying noise. Or whatever it is that is your challenge. What's causing you to reach your goal? What are the steps that you need to take? And you all know what you need to do. That's the funny thing, we're all experts. We actually know what we should do. And if you don't, well, maybe you need education in that particular area. So, for example, in one of my daily rules, the things that I needed to do daily during that challenge, there was one rule governing education because I didn't really know exactly what to do when a noise comes that annoys me. So I had to educate myself further, specifically about annoying noises. And on that, during that 21 days, I learned a lot. Many particular viewpoints that deal very efficiently with noise. I've covered forgiveness, which I found to be a very important factor in that noise training. Forgiveness, kindness, understanding the other person actually asking questions. I got to know that person that annoyed me with their noise. I got to know that person better. And I figured out that actually that person has a very tough life. And it gave me a bit of a background understanding. So each time I would hear that person now, I would understand, I would probably not be any different in that situation. And there are many, many other helpful tools, of course. So if education is what you're lacking in, maybe that's what you then need concerning your particular challenge. Say, I want to be more mindful on the basic level. So what do you need to do to be more mindful? I don't really know. Could you educate yourself on that topic? Yes. How many times a day or how many times a week would you educate yourself? And what kind of sources would you need to educate yourself? Establish that beforehand. Make it very clear what you need to do to get to your goal. What are steps you need to take? Once you have that down, then you set your daily rules. Every day I need to do 3 to 5 things. Don't do too much. Many people tend to do too much, to give themselves 6 things to do or something like that. It gets too much. So you want to really make sure that you can do it easily. Yeah, less is more there. And make sure that what you choose to do actually leads to the accomplishing of your goal. And it's not just some gimmick action. Like, I want to deal with my noise, and so every day I'm going to confront myself with some noises from YouTube. I actually did that. It didn't really work. But it was a rule, so I still did it for the 21 days. I set it up in the beginning, but I've learned through that this doesn't really work because it's self-imposed noise. It's not the real deal. So I'm aware, I'm alert. The noise comes out of YouTube. I don't care. It's like, okay, I'm totally relaxed about that. So I didn't feel challenged by it, but I felt challenged by spontaneous noises when there was no awareness. Okay? So as you go along, of course, there's also this element of learning how you can better your challenges the next time. What can you do better? What can you increase? What can you decrease? What's unnecessary? Where should you put more attention on detail? So that's pretty much how you build this 21 challenge. You need to know what you want to do or what you need to do when it comes to the practice. You need to know why you want to do it, and then you need to know how you want to go through this. How many days you want to do this? What would tell you that you have accomplished a result that is satisfying? What would be a satisfying result? Asking yourselves these questions. Then you write it down in a diary. And I highly recommend you not to use your smartphones or iPads or computers to write a diary. There is something much more direct when you're writing on paper with pen. It's much more connected in a way. It's much more me. It's my handwriting. It's my journey. And it's something that you can look through later in your life very easily. You have your little diary, your 21-day challenge diaries, or however you want to call it. And now the really important point when it comes to meditation practice. You can do obviously these challenges for normal everyday challenges that you have. Like maybe you're not listening to your wife or your husband very well. Make that your challenge. For 21 days I really want to focus on listening to my wife. Like really paying attention to her. Making that a practice. If communication is trouble or problem. So that's all the outer things that we can do. Now when it comes to the inner work of meditation practice, I also recommend these challenges. Spending 30 days, for example, with stage 1. And really working it, making it go deep. Not just breathing in, breathing out, relaxing the legs, breathing in, breathing out, but going really deep. How deep can you relax? Can you relax your skin? Can you relax the muscles? Can you relax the bones? And can you feel all these elements in your legs? How sensitive are you to your legs? How clear do they appear to your inner eye? And how could you tell that your legs are becoming more relaxed in day-to-day life? How about your belly? What could you do throughout the day, apart from when you're sitting cross-legged and practicing meditation? What could you do while you eat, while you talk with others, while you walk around, to actually support that practice, a particular first stage? So you see, this is very engaging. And so this is really only something for people who are not just after information, but they're after the experience, the living, breathing experience of meditation practice. Because after a while, I can tell you, in the beginning, information is very fascinating. And so you listen to a lot of teachings and a lot of teachers. And it's this information, it's thrilling. It feels like, yeah, that's so profound. Oh, wow, I understand that. It's almost like watching TV. It's nice to get information. But at some point, you will feel more and more on your spiritual path dissatisfied with just information. And more, with more honesty, you will notice really what I have is just information so far. And what I'm regurgitating in my mind and what I think I experience is just that. It is further thinking, further mental fabrication. And then you will feel, I want to get to the real point of the practice. I want to really know who I am. I really want to know that. So screw the information. Let me have a look. And then you go deep. Because you want to look well. And you want to do this carefully. There will be such a moment for all of us. In the beginning, always, information very, very interesting. To the point where you notice that it's just information and you will still die and death still scares the living hell out of you. There is no true anchor inside of yourself yet. A beautiful sentence that I've heard recently is that if we lean on things, we will collapse with them. Because everything doesn't last. Nothing lasts. So if you lean on stuff, information, teachers, retreats, locations, people, you will collapse with them. If I lean on silence around me, I will collapse as soon as the noise starts. My refuge is in the wrong place. External silence is my refuge. When everything is nice and quiet around me, I am happy and relaxed. That means I'm leaning on the wrong thing. So the idea is you want to lean on your own spine or lean on yourself. Now the big question is, what does that mean? What does it really mean? Not just as an abstract thought in our heads, that's what that means, but a living experience. so that when noise comes, or when that object of refuge that we previously had collapses, you don't collapse with it. You found yourself. You have a real center, right? As many people like to say, I like to find my center. So if you have such a center, the world cannot disturb you. Death cannot disturb you. Dissolution and build-ups of things cannot disturb you. But we cannot come to this nice point if we dabble around and if there is no solid foundation in our practice. And that foundation is indeed very important. So build strength in your mind. Take care of your mind. Take care of how you talk to yourself. If you cannot abandon self-talk in your head for good, at least make sure it's uplifting and kind. And once it's uplifting and kind, it'll become more easy to abandon it. Once you can abandon it, then abandon all wavering of attention and come back home into yourself and stay. Sounds very simple, but takes a lot of refinement and takes a lot of tuning and practicing well. So that's pretty much all I have to say for tonight. That's a matter of the heart. I feel very much that I've dabbled enough and that I would like to manifest real results in my practice, profound results, proper results. And so the way to do that is with proper attention to detail and really doing it well. Okay? So are there any questions?